But and so for people who join, this is the cool part. Hi, I'm gonna say hi, Katie. Oh, Janine, you joined. You're so cool. Janine just made a Thunderbolt
Thanks,
pose.
Mean.
Sheen, Janine's the best. Adrian, Kimberly, you join, yay! And Creed and Kelly. For anyone who's a Gen Xer, hi, guys. Um, what was it? Treehouse. I'm fine, me too. We're fine, and how are you? Like those children. They're like, "Hi, Johnny." I just felt like that. So, what's really exciting about so I'm gonna like talk to the people who are here. What's really exciting about this is that I decided I just wrote. I'm looking at the poem. I just wrote my 97th poem out of 108 poems. Um, and my vision for this is that I have two bookshelves of poetry books. I have to say the collection has grown and not grown after a while. And then I have two shelves of cookbooks, and I have a gazillion shelves on health books. And one of those shelves has the encyclopedia of, of Whole Foods.
Mhm.
That book I take out all the time. My favorite book, like the history of butternut squash, the history of grains. Long story short, I'm like, I want to write this poetry book as a reference book. So it's 108 alphabetized. There's table of contents. There's an index of alternative names. There's all the different Sanskrit names. This is like hard for me to keep track of. I'm like, it's going to be. I want it to be well organized. Start off, Jackie, with me right one, and going through that. I have no right to do this project. During a long meditation, I heard this voice like, "Are you going to say yes or are you going to say no?" I was like, because if you say no, we'll give this to someone else. It's out there. Other people are writing this. Other
Mhm.
people are doing this. There's two other books that have yoga poetry, and other people are like, I'm writing. So I was like, okay, 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 I'll say yes. And this was very much in the beginning of my yoga journey. I'm going to ask you, you were saying that you've been practicing yoga since your teens?
Yeah, like mid to late 90s.
Really? How did you cross yoga in the mid to late 90s? It was just not as like Instagrammy.
Yeah. I grew up in a real kind of yoga mecca of the US, Santa Cruz, California. And I feel like um the culture there is very like new age and there's like a lot of alternative sort of thinking out there. And so it was just there in like abundance. And so I feel like as a teen in that town, even back in the 90s or 80s, even you would come across yoga. And I also have asthma. And at the time I was looking for different ways to kind of manage my asthma aside from just taking medication.
Oh, wow. Where were you in California?
So yeah, Santa Cruz is like the Monterey Bay, like kind of Central Coast, California. Um, Surf City. If you listen to like Beach Boys, everybody had an ocean across the USA. That they mentioned Santa Cruz in that song. I'm like, yeah, that's my hometown.
Okay.
Yeah. Skateboards, the Santa Cruz logo, that's like the skateboard company, that's my hometown.
I know it well. My parents, I was born and raised in New York City, in Queens and then Manhattan, and then in Greenwich Village back when it was like really rough. I think it's rough again. I literally think my parents just they went nuts. It was like, it's too much. We're moving to California.
Mhm.
And we packed everything up, sold our loft, which my mom's like, why did I sell my loft? And we moved to Palo Alto in
Oh,
94. And so
yeah.
from 4 to 85, we actually had an art gallery in Palo Alto. So when you're like Santa Cruz, I'm like, oh yeah, we had artists in Santa Cruz, and we were
Yeah.
traveling around finding different artists. So I
Mhm.
very well. And yes, when you're like, um, so I understand the point of reference
Yeah.
for around. That makes a lot of sense.
I like to say that I started doing yoga before yoga pants were invented. Because when you think about it, like everyone's got like a pair of yoga pants, and back then we are like in shorts or sweats in yoga class, and it's like how much has changed since then.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely a journey. And
Yeah,
then, for everyone here, like I know about your Substack, but I love your Substack. Can you tell us about me too, right? Can you
yeah.
tell about your like your writing and your thing?
Yeah. Yeah, I got on Substack in 2018, when it was like this little known thing, and thanks to my husband who's in the tech world, and he just like knows about these things. So he said, "Oh, you want to get on this writing platform?" Because I was already a writer, and I got this idea. My daughter was 2 at the time, and so I had realized like how different, obviously, how different my life was since having a baby, but also like how different my yoga was becoming because it had to be. It had to change with my lifestyle as a stay-at-home mom. So it became this idea of like, how do I honor that need to change my practice and yet still keep my practice and not just throw in the towel and say, oh, I'm too busy or too exhausted or there's this little kid around. How do I just keep practicing and modifying the practice to suit my unique lifestyle? And there's got to be a million moms out there that are either asking the same question or saying, oh, I can't continue doing yoga or oh, I'll wait to try it for the first time when my kids are older. So the tagline of my Substack is like real yoga for real busy mamas. And the word real in there is meant to kind of point to not just poses, but like all of yoga, the philosophy, the breathing, meditation, like how you integrate it into your life. So I do feel like I've stumbled through it the past 6 years because it is a juggle. You're juggling the kids. And then maybe I want to work again a little, but um I love to read my posts and go, oh, what a great idea. I should do that. It's like when you give a friend advice and then you sit back and you go, oh my gosh, I'm not even doing that for myself. Um, but I've met some lovely people through Substack while writing, Urban Yoga Mama. And I put the urban in there. It used to just be Yoga Mama. And we've moved to Chicago. And I kind of dawned on me like, oh, we're all kind of urban. There's not a lot of people living off the land. We have connections to urban life and so it's just kind of this merging of things like urban life, motherhood, and yoga.
I love that, and I love that you're just, you bring in all the different aspects of yoga, and also I'm listening to you, I'm like, "Oh, if I just had you 18 years ago." Yeah, we're trying, and I remember hearing about goat yoga, and I was like, "Yeah, no, it just the second, like, that I'm practicing." And I was like, "I'm not gonna." I would try going to studios, I'm like, "That's not working." And, like, I had a video, I'm like, "I'll watch this one over and over again for postnatal," and they're like, so my kid, like, he is the, like, archetype of the, well, who's the person who wants to the mischief maker.
Mhm,
He's just like that, and
mhm.
so he's like, "Aha! She's not paying attention, climbing all over me, scared." So I really did give up, um, for a long time, so but this, like, integrative approach is so, refreshing.
Yeah. I mean, it really applies to not even just moms. I noticed that like people that are, I assume not women or moms are signing up to, subscribing to my Substack. And I think it just speaks to like, okay, well, we're all kind of busy. And I've noticed over the years that when I first started doing yoga, it was almost always an hour and a half class. And then it slowly became like more likely you're going to see an hour-long class. And I just went with a friend to a yoga class the other day. I'm like, oh my God, it's an hour and a half. I just assumed it was an hour um, because that's kind of the norm now. I don't know about where you live, but here it's generally an hour.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely an hour. As I say to people, like, about 5 years ago, I started disbanding my attachment to the idea of being busy as
Mm.
giving, and there's definitely moments where I'm like, "I'm not busy. I have no meaning." I go into that, like, it's like a 2 crisis. I'm like, "Busy is not a badge of honor.
Yeah.
Weak. Like, you must, like, take care of yourself." That being said, you get busy, and
Yeah.
yeah, I tell myself, I'm like, "Listen," I just tell people, "Just move your body." It doesn't matter if it's, and I tell myself every day, I have this, like, I call it, like, the brain manipulation to get myself on the mat. I'm like, it could be 6 minutes, it could be 20 minutes, and so there's not one day I've missed. um, I think I had COVID, I missed part of that, yeah,
Oh, yeah. Hmm.
that was it was a bad day. But besides that, and a lot of it is just modifying, like, I can only
Hmm.
like, today my back, my SI is, I have to always work with the scoliosis. I'm like, I had to do something shorter, but I made it.
Yeah. I also struggle almost daily with that. that need to slow down because it's almost like if you're living in this like fast moving current, which we all kind of are, and sometimes you don't even realize it, just to actually like, to be metaphorical, like get yourself out of that river or whatever that current is and just go, oh, I don't have to be like that 100% of the time. It's okay to be like that sometimes because you got to now and then, but like it doesn't have to be 24/7.
I love that. So I now I'm gonna transition to the poem
Yeah.
actually. But you're so interesting, and everyone who just joined in, I saw Paul join in. Hi, Paul. Just Jackie is just she's a amazing Substack and is just kind of like the epitome of of organic growth because I know it's kind of like hyper growth over the past year. And
Mm-hmm.
oh, I know when like video came, everything came was like, oh, this is all new. This is all new. Um, and she has supported my work from the very, I don't know how you found me from the very
I don't
beginning.
remember. It just
Yeah,
happened.
like it's been a while, and in that respect, like going live and I'm talking to you for the first time. It's like I feel like I've, um, you know you. So
Yeah. Thanks.
this is poem Thunderbolt Pose. Now, the closer I get to 108, in some ways, like not the harder it is, but I didn't give my. It's an interesting process every time I go to write a poem, and like I set myself with an assignment. And like I love assignments. I love projects. I love categories. And this one was like, how did I miss this one?
Mhm.
All, for all these years. And so it took about 2 weeks. And it's like I call it I realize now it's a triangulation process. And I've come to understand that I'll usually feel unsettled as I'm doing it, kind of like this, like, I don't know. And I'm like, and all that, and all this self doubt. I'm like, yeah. Just, just, just go in it. And
Mhm.
so the first then there's the intellectual side. Like I read about thunderbolts, I read about, and I try, and even if a pose is called something else, I go with something that I'm like, ooh, a metaphor. Like I can work with that extended side angle, which I think you work with me on.
Mhm.
I was like, that one was such a physically powerful pose for me that able to not I didn't need a line for that one, or tiger. So for this one, like I studied the actually the scientific part of thunderbolts. I studied
Mhm.
yoga part of thunderbolts, understanding that it's like Indra's weapon and that it's
Mhm.
very powerful. And then I studied what thunderbolts meant throughout all of cultures. And when I say study, it's almost like, when you're like searching for ingredients, it's not like intensive. I can't sit down for that long. It's like, oh, let me bring that. Oh, let me bring that. And
Mhm.
constant physicality of getting up from my seat, getting into the pose. So it's like this intellectual, physical, and then this spiritual. I've been like that since I was 3. Like I'm like, what is God?
Mhm.
My pillow and like my spiritual relationship to this existence. And so that part comes in. And then there's a lot of letting go. It's at least 19 drafts. Um,
Mm.
Noticed anywhere to 20 to 30. And I can change one word and I copy it and I paste it to the next page. I save everything based on one of my mentors. He's like, don't throw out any drafts.
Mhm.
Um, so for this one, I'm going to ask for you to actually show us how to get to go. It's about 1 minute and 20 something seconds to show us going into the pose and then out of it. And I'm going to read this poem while you do that, and just to see like how it affects you, because
Mhm.
I would love the feedback, because I imagine from the feedback I've gotten from yoga festivals that people are like, oh, the pose feels different to me.
Mhm.
Um, and so, as you said, that poetry, you said it's like a mechanism. Repeat that thing you said before about like poetry being like this mechanism to help the Western mindset.
Yeah, I feel like it kind of bridges the gap between the cultures because yoga does come from Indian culture, even though it's supposedly a universal practice, right? But it's imbued with that culture. And so I feel like it just opens, oh, I didn't say this before, but I'm kind of changing now, like almost like a portal into something that might feel like a locked door.
That's such an interesting metaphor, because I was just speaking with a friend, and 'cause we're developing a class based on these poems. Talked about when I worked with students with special needs, a lot of it was like, how do I open that door? Because the door locked, like considered locked. And I was like, what is my access? And poetry, although I learn the alphabet and have to learn language, like all ancient cultures embrace poetry as this like it's a physical thing as well, an additional to a written thing because it lives in the body. It's breath, it's rhythm, it's rhyme, it's the heartbeat. It is like, and I always say to people, like, it's not like I'm so into poetry. I'm not like reading it all the time, but the effect it has on me and others when I read it, it's like an and so when you said like the opening of the door, I was like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. A little bit like music. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. So, all right, I'm gonna, I'll start. All right. Thunderbolt pose. Hands on my knees on the ground, legs bent on legs, head aligned with the electric bolt of my spine. I can hear the rumble of the distant storm ruminating inside of the cracked earth of my skin. Hear my synapses simmer with the words, don't you know there is something within you calling to be free? There were times in my life I let myself set everything on fire. And there were times in my life I let the voltage of my heart clap so loudly I can swear that for a moment there was no such thing as war. Here, to become powerful is to let my tears turn into the rain that drenches the water starved land. Only the earth can show me how to break open and still have cracks of light beneath so many scars. Only the sky has sovereignty over its rumbles, its roars, its sighs. I kneel in the temple of my soul and relearn what it means to tremble and to remember that I too am made of diamonds, made of thunder, made of lightning, and like you, I am just trying to find my way to the ground. Thank you. Thank you for reading that poem. I wasn't able to watch you, but I guess like and first of all, Janine's here. Janine actually helped me edit this poem.
Mhm, mhm,
Yeah, I send them to her and she's like, that whole middle part doesn't belong.
mhm,
Took it out and the whole poem collapsed.
mhm.
Oh, I have to rewrite that part, don't I? And I was like, oh, I feel so lazy about this, but um and I did it. And then when I sent it to her again, she's like, now you have it. So how was that to hear the um home while you're in the pose?
For me, this is such an ordinary, pose, like, I literally do this in my daily life, and, like, when I'm sitting with my kids or I'm at a park, a picnic, or even, like, I'm pretty short, so if I'm, like, in a chair at the dinner table, I'm like, "Oh, my feet don't touch the ground," I just wanna fold them up under me. So it feels like this is a pose I assume naturally, but when I was listening, what I got was, like, this sense of, like, expansiveness, and I'm not sure if that's what you're trying to get at. It was like, this can be a very internal pose. You can meditate like this, you could do breath work, but it was like me, just like you, me connecting to other people. I'm not alone or solitary or necessarily internal when I'm doing this pose. It's like I kind of like picture myself like expanding out.
Mm, thank you so much. As far as like one day I want to write a book, most likely with you, and it's
Mm,
called Maximize Mom Movements. And it's
mm,
when you pick up a toy from the ground, Warrior Three, or when you're like sitting with your kid, you're actually doing Malasana, or you're doing like
yeah.
thing. Have back because the movements can hurt you.
Well,
Being for me, it was like I was self-sacrifice all the way. But we get here, so it's like, oh, so I'm also I'm also will sit like that often at the table.
Mm, yeah.
Um, because chairs I think are very uncomfortable. Uh, so it's interesting you say like, oh, this is like how I just sit, but then when I sit
Mhm.
with it, it felt different. So that's beautiful to hear.
Yeah. Yeah, no, focusing on it is different than just, like, doing things while being in it, you know?
Oh, wait, Kimberly said, beautiful, Corey. Oh, thank you. Oh, I
Mhm.
didn't invite you all to do it. Thank you. It was fun to do the polls while listening to
Mhm.
this on certain words was pitch perfect. You help us discover the power of this pose through your poem. Thank you. I was a slam poet. Do you know what slam? You're in Chicago now. That's where slam poetry was born. Do you know what slam poetry is? Yeah, back in the 90s, it was huge, and I ran spoken word venues in New York City while I was going to graduate school at NYU for poetry. And while I was working full time and while I was doing this dance project, it was like that sort of actually, the dance it was a different project. So when you slam poems, I always like poetry readings because from like I still have children's books there. It's like we somehow lose.
But
I want people to read me stories
yeah.
again, and that
Mhm.
find it like poetry readings, fiction readings, and so I did that as much as I could. And I started performing or reading, and
Mhm.
I desire. I don't know. I was always loved being on stage. Uh, So anyhow, being a slam poet, I had to not just read the poem; I had to be authentic when I shared my poems. So it was very, very rigorous. But so that was like, let me take a detour back into my past and come forward. So for me, like it was again a triangulation of how can I make sure my poems stand up? How can I make sure
Mhm.
I hear them, they actually feel them, and how can I make sure I'm not pretending, like not pretending to do downward dog? I really want to
Mhm.
the pose. And it's the same when I read a poem. It's like, how can I feel something
Mhm.
within myself? Because I think that these poems, they're also a gift. They're kind of given to me.
Mm.
Always trying to accept that and receive it. So my last poem, Standing Splits, I think I cried 4 times when I was recording it.
Mhm.
It was so like you cannot not love yourself, Corey. You have to
Mm.
self. You need to give your permission to go. Give yourself permission to let go of pain
Mhm.
and to heal. So and Janine said, I meditate in that pose. I love the line about searching for the ground. Thank you. That came first. or that,
Oh,
that that came before the poem was done. And so I knew it was going to end that way. And I was like, I just don't know how I'm going to get there. But with your help, I got there. Yeah.
you created your landing point. Nice. Yeah. What are you aiming at, kind of, yeah.
I knew the goal. So gosh. I feel Janine, not Janine. Does anyone have any questions, or Jackie, do you have any questions or feedback, or you want to tell us about your Substack, anything like that?
Um, yeah, how do you maybe you've said this in one of your posts, but how do you pick a pose when you're like, "I'm gonna sit down and write about this pose?" Is it case by case? Like, every time you decide to write about a pose, it's for a different reason, or does that question make sense?
It makes total sense. In the very beginning, the very first pose I wrote was hero pose. This is full
Mm,
circle, and it was during COVID when I was like, I need something. And that's when I was like, well, I'm going to practice yoga every single day. And that was the humility of writing the poems. Like this was a practice. Like I'd had yoga in my life because I had wonderful gym teachers. I had actually took yoga in high school. I was like, wow, what is this? And so I did like one of those 30-day challenges
mhm,
online. And then I sat in hero pose at the end and I was like, what does it mean to be a hero?
mm,
What does that mean right now?
mm,
'Cause we talk about, like, heroes and, who is our hero, front like where and I was like, "Am I a hero? How can I be a hero sitting here?" And then it was like, boom, and the line came, and I just wrote the poem.
mm,
Started, and I was like, "Okay, well, that was cool. I'll put that aside," and I had, like, a failed Instagram experiment,
mm,
and then I was practicing. It was one of the warrior sequences. And like, I'm a very fiery Aries, and I'm constantly learning how to use my fire for justice or and not to burn others. And that's why I said a lot of my poems like set everything on fire, Molotov cocktails. It just comes up a lot. And so when I wrote this next one, I think it was like humble warrior, peaceful warrior. What does it mean to be a warrior? So I started, and then I started realizing like, oh, the asanas are just the asanas.
Mhm.
They're just movements. Whole constellation of systems, which very much emulates like 10 commandments, like the yamas and niyamas and, pranayama. I was like, wow. So that's, um, then from there, I realized that's when the meditation came. I was like, can I write poems? And then I was like, no, no, I actually think I want to write a collection of poetry.
Mhm.
And I'd written another one, that was all about body parts,
Mm.
be in a lot of somatic experiencing and healing my body part by part. So then I was like, well, I'll write 33. That's my angel number.
Mm.
And I picked ones that seemed accessible to me. And I was like, and I used to joke with my friend, I was like, but I'm not going to write downward dog. I'll write everything but downward dog. I can't write downward dog because it's too popular. I'm going to fail. So I went through like a year of that. And then I got to 33 and I did write the poem for downward dog. And these were all just my favorite movements.
Mm.
And then I was like, I need to keep going, don't I? And so it just constant process of permission. And then I started categorizing them and I started writing them. And it just became the ones that were the most common in sequences. And um and I would often change which one I was going to work on next. Like Janine, she makes the videos for all of a lot of most all of my posts.
Mhm.
Um, I'll be like, this week I'm doing this pose, and then I change it because something else. Now I'm at the point now where since I have 97, I have to just choose ones I haven't written about.
Mhm.
Um, like I couldn't believe I didn't write standing splits. I'm like, how could I not have written one? But now I'm going to be writing most likely monkey pose. Monkey pose, that's doing a full split. That's not something that is in. I'm actually, I can't believe it, but I'm not can't believe it. I'm like, well, can I do it? Like, oh my gosh, I can't. I didn't know I could.
Mm.
It's not something that's been in my practice. So
Mm.
the next one I'm writing, and when I write that, it's like I'm going to go out with this humility of understanding that it's really hard. And this is not one I'm ever going to say, hey, yoga teachers, read this poem in your practice while are in monkey pose. It will.
Mhm.
There's a lot of them. Some of the poems are to do while you're in poses like Shavasana, child's pose, extended child's pose, um, Thunderbolt, like the meditative one.
Mm.
And I've done two. I'm talking. I've done two different sequences where they're all easier poems and poses, and they're all short. Like there's no one poem that's gonna be longer than a page. But then those poses, like monkey pose, I'm like, this is for like the poster print. This is just for you
Right.
to read.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a long answer, but does that?
It's okay. It's a long journey sometimes, right?
Yeah,
It's like multi-layered. So yeah. I mean, because there's so many poses. That's why I asked. Like, everyone's got their favorites and um dreaded ones and things like that.
yeah, yeah. I researched them like I know now I have reversed and revolved.
Hmm.
And I'm like, that's not really a pose in itself. It's a variation of a pose. But then again, it's in my practice.
Oh.
Um, so I have like a list because this is a funny thing. I have 11 more to go.
Hmm.
And so yeah, it's all which ones come to me.
Hmm. I look forward to hearing what's next.
Thank you. I have
Mhm.
one comment and then sign off because we're all busy. Oh, oh no, I meditate in that pose. I love that. Okay, I read that. I read that. We're all good. I love it. Well, I love you. Okay, we're all thank you so much, Jackie, for
Thank
meeting
you too. Yes.
actually meet you face to face. And I really
Totally.
um I mean this from the heart, but not like as in like how people sign off. Like I just truly admire your dedication to your family and to your practice and to your journey. So thank you. I appreciate you.
Yes, no, thanks for making the connection. It's really great to see your work and also to have our little interactions. So,
Brilliant. All right.
yeah, thank you.
Oh, I love you. Bye bye.
Have a good day.